What's up, everyone? I got really good feedback from the video I made earlier about what I wish I had known when I applied to medical school, but I also got even better feedback of making this video of me going through my actual current AMCAS application that I just submitted last June and showing you guys what it looks like, because with that you'll be able to kind of put in the puzzle pieces together, and see what it's looking like when you create a final product. With that being said, my application is 18 pages long. Almost everyone else's will be as well. So let's just go ahead and get started, and I'll show you why it's so long. So first thing I want to point out is this thing at the top, which is referred to as the submission date. So the submission date is the day I submitted my AMCAS. For me, that was on June 10th, 2016 at 6:31 a.m. The AMCAS opens for submission. The first day you can submit the AMCAS for me was June 6th. So I submitted it 4 days after the first day you could submit it. And that's actually pretty late. One thing you're going to learn in med school application is that the earlier you submit, earlier you get things done, the better off you are because it's all rolling. So notice here, I submitted mine only 4 days after it was due, and it took over 2 weeks to process it. Processing the AMCAS is when the AMCAS gives it the official stamp of approval and says, okay, you are officially ready to get secondaries. This is actually a slow process. And the earlier you submit your initial application, the more likely it is that you'll get it processed earlier. And that's one of the biggest reasons why I recommend everyone to finish their AMCAS as soon as possible. Ideally, the first day you get it. But with that being said, the first page of AMCAS information is mostly just identifying information. Nothing too big, nothing too scary. Mostly your name, your contact information. In this case, your email. Oh, what is that? Well, mostly your email and the days, all that stuff. Biographic information is your first page. It's not that big of a deal. Second page is a continuation of that, childhood information. This one is going to hit more on the, let's see, this one is going to hit more on, your childhood residence, whether you're an underserved, your contribution, family contribution during college, all that jazz. This one will be disadvantage, and if you think you're disadvantaged, you get a chance to explain yourself. And then you have this other section here underneath that is briefly, I have the Wheel of Death here, but this other section underneath is about parents and guardians, and this is important because they want to know whether your parents went to college, where they went to college, so you kind of have to fill that part in. These are just the first 2 pages, again, mostly preliminary info. Let's move on to the third page. The third page will now hit on, your siblings. So, if you have a sibling, what their age is and what they're currently doing is this section. On top of that, there's also additional applicant information here. So is this your first time applying? Have you previously been in medical school? All that stuff is just yes or no questions. So up till now, almost everything you've seen has been relatively simple because it's stuff you already know about yourself. But next, what I'm going to talk about is the academic record. This is the important part because the academic record is where you're officially going to start your med school app. Everything you've been working toward in your undergrad, those 4 years, is starting now. So what you're going to do in the academic record, and I've mentioned this earlier, is you're going to take out that official transcript you ordered, and you're going to write down every class you took and the grade you got in that class. And so you'll see here, I went to Berkeley, as you may know, and I took it at Berkeley, I wrote down the year I took it in, the semester I took it in, the subject it was called, what it was called on my transcript here. And I think at the end of the day, what I did was these are credits. So they call them hours on the AMCAS application, but the credits they're worth. And obviously I blanked this part out as well because I didn't want to get hate, but I'm really close with all of you guys. And I don't know if you guys realize this, I'm really open about almost everything. So if you want to see anything, I think I'm going to reveal my MCAT score, later on, not in this video. I will try to make sure I'm transparent, but if you ever want to talk to me about any of this stuff, feel free. And even getting access to this application, I'm not trying to make it secretive. I really would be willing to share it with you. I just don't want to put it on the internet for everyone to see. So if you want to check out my entire application and you think that would be educational for you, feel free to let me know. But anyway, this academic record will now go on for quite a while, you might imagine, because as a student, you have been taking classes for 4 years. So here is my 4 years of classes. This is only going to go up to sophomore year again. And look, the one thing I want to point out is this last column here, AMCAS use. That means that AMCAS is actually going to physically verify every single one of those classes. It's going to verify that you got the grade that you got, and that's why you have to send a transcript into AMCAS, because AMCAS will make sure that the grade you got and the grade you write down are the same. In this page, again, everything is simple here. You'll notice that there is a pass-fail category, so some classes, if you did pass-fail instead of letter grade, you'll have to write it down. You'll have to write down if it's honors or if it's pass-fail, all that stuff you'll have to write down. Nonetheless, it's nothing too important. You'll finish all 4 years. And then they do have this one small section on what high school you went to. So you want to include your high school here. Not that big of a deal. They don't really care too much about it. And that's it. So I've written down all 4 years of my academics, and we are now officially on page 6. We still have 12 pages to go, so you can only imagine what's next. But let's keep going. Alrighty, page 7 now. This is where it's going to start getting a bit more writing intensive, but still manageable. On this page, you're going to now talk about your post-secondary education, and specifically here, I wrote about UC Berkeley, my 2 majors I had, which were molecular biology and public health. I also did a bit of an extension program, and you might have to include those as well if you did them. If you didn't, don't worry about it. This other part underneath, the verified GPAs, this is the numbers that everyone loves and cares about so much. You don't actually have to calculate those, because what ends up happening is they take all the letters grades that you have entered so far, and they kind of calculate it for you. So all the classes you entered earlier, you classified some classes as science, you classified some as not. And so what ends up happening is, based on that and the letters you entered, they will calculate your GPA and stuff like that for you, so you don't actually have to do any of it. It's kind of like an algorithm that will be done for you, and you'll just get a number out because you've already done the grunt work of typing in every single one of your classes. And of course, if you have GPA, you can never forget about the Mcat. So the Mcat is right underneath. Mcat, at least when I submitted my application, was valid for about 3 years, and mine was barely there. And so this is an Mcat score after January 31st, because it was post 2015, and they had the 2015 Mcat, but I didn't have any post 2015 Mcat because I took the old one. So you'll see that when we go to the next page, there's another category, and that category is for pre-2015. So you'll see that before January 31st, 2015, there's a category here that says a test that you've taken, and I've blanked out my score again because the internet's a scary place, but your score should appear like right here, and it would tell you the percentile and the score, and it's with the AAMC anyway, so it's not like it's anonymous. It's going to be just showing up right here. That's going to be your score. And now the best and biggest part of the application, the activities section, and that is right underneath the experience. And most of you know this section as the extracurricular section that you have pre-writing for, and you can get a glimpse of some of my activities, but basically for every activity you have a 700 character description available, and you have to write that description right here. So, ooh, why are you doing that? What is going on? Oh, there we go. You write that description right here, and you write it here. So my first activity you see is shadowing. You write down the total number of hours you did it, the dates you did it from. You also write down where you did it, and you write a brief description about it. And again, I don't have my description available right now, but if you want to see them, I'd be more than happy to send them to you. Just prove to me that you're not gonna destroy me. I can't. I gotta trust you guys, and I think the internet again is a very scary place. And now my second activity was about community service, and I helped underserved community, I believe, and a description about that here. 700 characters, total hours I did, the dates I did it from, all that jazz is here. And now this goes on for a while. Now you have 3 more activities on the next page here. This one is more of a tutoring activity and how I taught other students, and that's something that also you can do and talk about. Same thing, description. Another thing here was one of my research labs that I involved in. I would describe it here. Another thing is a publication or a poster, or no, this one is for presentation or a poster I did, and I would describe it here. And again, I would write down the total number of hours I did for all of these activities, what I liked about them, what I learned about them, what I think is relevant to medicine. All that stuff is what you should be talking about in these activities. So description, total hours, and total hours. And now, if you have a publication, you can also have a section for publications where you talk about that publication. So here was one of mine, and I wrote that this was one of my most meaningful experiences. So as we've already discussed, and if you haven't already, watched my other video, but for out of up to 15 extracurriculars you can write down, 3 of them can be deemed your most meaningful. And if you deem them as your most meaningful, what you'll see is on your application it'll say, yes, you deem this as your most meaningful, and so you not only get 700 characters to describe it, and those 700 characters, by the way, are with spaces, but you also get 1,325 extra characters to write more about it. So you'll see here there's a most meaningful experiences remark. There's also the general experience description, and as usual, there's always going to be with every experience a name. There's always going to be an experience type, and in this case it's publication, but if you see underneath, I talk about my job as a Kaplan tutor, but experience type is always common, experience name is common. If you have a contact, you should always have a contact. You should also have a contact email. This was brought up in my last video as well, where everything you do, someone should be able to vouch for you, because AAMC or even med schools can call them up to verify. Okay, okay, all right. My next activity underneath, obviously, as I mentioned to you, was Kaplan. I'm a Kaplan tutor, so I wrote about that. And so yeah, you write about this, you keep going. And this is something I can't stress enough. I actually have a section on here about hobbies. There is a category for hobbies, and I'm a big Steve Nash, Steph Curry fan, so I actually wrote about how I played intramural basketball and frisbee, and you can write about that too. You can literally show med schools everything you care about. They want to know, they want to hear, they're excited about it, and I think that's the best part about this application. You can write everything and anything, and I described my intramural experience here, and I wrote the total number of hours I did. Same thing here. I was a TA, a tutor, and this was again one of my most meaningful experiences. So I got another 1325 characters to write about it on top of the 700 already for the description. But yeah, I hope you guys are starting to see now how these experiences are coming together and how exactly the AAMC wants you to talk about them formatting wise. All right, I think we're going to page 12 now, and you'll see here again I had another experience, and I started my own kind of club at Berkeley about just talking about peers helping one another, and I thought that was one of my most meaningful experiences as well, so I, again, get another 1325, but you only get 3 most meaningful, so you have to think about those wisely, and that's what I'm saying. You can pre-plan for that. I did a bit more teaching here, and I think overall, I mean, this is starting to get repetitive, but you start seeing why it's taking up a couple pages, because every activity needs to have a description, every activity needs to have a contact, every activity needs to have X, Y, and Z. All right, so it's jammed for a bit, but let's go to page 13. More activities here. Nothing too big, just something that you can talk about if you're interested. More activities. I will point out here, though, this is important. This activity is called Honors, Awards, and Recognitions. If you have multiple honors and awards, you might want to just clump them all together. It's a really good way for you to save space. You don't want to talk about like the one time you were MVP of your basketball team and then the other time you got most improved in your cross-country team. Just clump them all together, and because you get 700 characters, you can write about all of them here. I just made a bullet point list. It depends how you want to do it. It's entirely up to you. But you can clump all your awards together, which I'm sure all of you have a ton of because you're amazing and you're already pre-planning. I had a service activity here. I was a community service person. So you can just kind of talk about anything and everything you did. It doesn't have to be any substantial. I would say my barometer for substantial / meaningful activity is anything you committed at least 100 hours to. And so, that is what I believe. And last but not least, we're done with the activities, the personal statement. I'm not obviously going to show mine here because it's personal for a reason, right? But the last part of the AMCAS application asks you to write in 5,300 characters why you want to go into medicine, and that's what this space is for. And it's going to show up on here. It's going to be given to every school, and it's a big deal. It's a big, big, big deal. If you now look, this personal statement for me went onto the next page because mine just happened to meet the limit, but you don't have to. After you're done with the personal statement, you have officially finished the primary application. Congratulations, you walked through mine with me. But underneath that, you'll see that there's also a slot that tells every med school who are your letter of recommendation writers. So I was conservative and I tried to get as many as possible, but I only used about 5. You need anywhere between 5 to 7. Here I have 10, but I only used about 5 to 7. And right underneath letters of evals, which are the people you decided are your letter of recommendation writers, is going to be every school you applied to. So you'll see here my designated programs. I applied to Baylor, I applied to Boston University School of Medicine, and then I applied to 23 other schools. So there's 23 here, okay, that I'm not showing you guys again, primarily because I want to make that private, but I can tell you if you're interested. Applied to 23 other schools here. Each of those schools will get this application, and that is why it's so imperative that you do a good job on it. If you have a mistake, a typo, it's going to every school you apply to, and there's no way you can fix it. So you want to make sure you do a good job. But overall, we are now going to hit page 18. This is just notes, but we finished. And that is what an AMCAS application looks like. I hope you guys benefited from it. You saw how everything came together. If you have any questions for me, let me know. But overall, that's my med school experience, at least applying, and it's mind-blowing to me that that was almost a year ago. If I could have seen something like this, I would have definitely benefited, because I was just like, how the hell, what is this, why are there so many parts? But now, seeing it all in one place, hopefully you get a streamlined view of it. Please let me know if you have any more questions. I look forward to hearing your comments. Thank you for the support. Like, subscribe, share, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.